Shri Ram Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om. 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 Hari Om to everybody.
Pranam Swami.
Namaskaram Swami.
Namaskaram. Where are we now?
Pranam Swami.
Where are we now?
Tightening our goals.
If we constantly think about this tightening, the loose ends, probably we might get an answer to what Papa was struggling to make us understand. Before we take up that, we thought we would share Sanjeev Rao's article. And this has been partly covered in Passage to Divinity. He used to come here. A few months later, a gentleman from Mangalore brought me the news that Brother Vittal Rao had suddenly left, leaving no trace of where he had gone, and covering parties had been sent all around. This news was confirmed by letters received subsequently from my brothers in Canada, and each in turn asked me if I had any light to throw upon this sudden disappearance. Little by little, full details came, how he left a note, and he carried with him only a few rupees, how he had only one or two clothes, etc. Days rolled into weeks and weeks into months. Yet no news until at last one afternoon I received a postcard from him addressed from Calcutta, signed as Ramdas. This letter gave a brief account of his wanderings and furnished me with his address. With a sign of relief, I received it, and the very same day it was forwarded to my brother at Kasargod, with whom father was living. There was no mention of either wife or child in the letter, and for him it seemed that they had never existed. The assertion of wife and child seemed to me, in my then frame of mind, heartless, and I was roused to indignation. I wrote him then a letter, biting and sarcastic, a letter too, in which I took up the cause of his family and implored him to come back to his family. A few days later, his reply came, which opened my eyes in a dim way to the truth of things. News at last came that Ramdas had arrived at Mangalore. An all-consuming desire to see him seized me. Shortly after receipt of the news, I obtained a few days' leave, went up to Mangalore. I went and saw him. What a transformation! I did not see Vittal Rao, my erstwhile brother, but a divine being radiating love and gentleness, and smiled on his lustrous face. He cast a spell over me, flooding my whole being with a strange, inexpressible joy. He was then living in a cave on the Kadri hills, a cave overgrown with wild growth and almost inaccessible in some places. To this cave I would go in the morning, noon, evening, again at night. An indefinable craving to be with him possessed my soul. At his blessed feet I would lay my head, in the course of which I was feeling beside myself with joy, and take his leave in the evening, saying that I would call again the next morning. As soon as I reached my brother's house, an uncontrollable longing would come, impelling me to go again and have his darshan. So soon after taking food, my brother and myself would start for the cave again. The nights were dark, but there was no thought in the mind except his lustrous figure. I would enter the cave again and press my head to his feet. What tongue or pen can describe the bliss I was feeling by touching his whole body, whole holy feet? Latterly, for a few nights we slept in the cave. The sweet nectar-like Ramamantram, which he was singing at about 4 o'clock every morning, is still ringing in my ears. The more I listened, the more I wanted to listen to it. The day came for my return to Ernakulam. It was a wrench to be separated from him, and on arrival at Ernakulam, I felt again a great longing to see him, a longing which grew in intensely from day to day. But to write to him, to come, was out of question, for his movements were all guided by Ram, the Supreme Being, and not by individuals. But Ram, who is all mercy, heard my silent prayer, and for one day a letter came from him, addressed from Kundapur, that at Ram's command he was coming to me direct. What words can express my joy at this letter? I felt blessed because, in due course, he graced me with his darshan. We will try to see if some more are there, but we couldn't lay our hand. Old, this vision but we have just read them. July 1936. Even the pages are so weak, if you take 2 or 3, it might get it separated from the book. But the moment we read this, because this brother, Sanjeev Rao, he has been a constant giver of news about Papa. He has been closely associating with Papa, just like Chandrasekhar Rao. And now in this particular article we find what he felt at the sight of him. What a transformation is what he has written. Day for yesterday we were recollecting that all these things he could do it in 2 years' time. In his own words, he said it started in 1920 when Ram chose to reveal himself in his heart. An intense journey, an intense effort by which he was able to plug all loose ends and direct the entire potentiality faculty towards feeling the presence of him within. So he gives us the clue there. It may not be possible because he was at that time 36 years. He was relatively young. So not only that body would be cooperative, mind also. 15 to 20 years of exposure to the world, okay. When we try to tighten the loose ends at this age, we find it difficult because the mind is full of so many things. And to give space for the intense aspiration to realize him, it requires extra effort, not ordinary effort. We must go through it again and again. All the 5 organs, tightening the loose ends means all the 5 organs of perception. They are the outlet through which we reach out to the objects. And it has to be plugged. Not an easy job. But still we can make an effort. Every day we can try that. The eye should only see that which is to be seen. The ear should only hear that which is to be heard. The tongue should taste only that which enables to move towards him. The nose should smell only that which enables to know him. The skin, the touch, should only touch that which enables to know him. So this way, we have to keep on going through an exercise. It's an intense mental exercise. In other words, the me and mine. Because only when the mind goes along with these sense objects, the me and mind gets trivialized because cravings, infatuations, all those things, follow. And the me and mind becomes stronger and stronger, assertion. We hardly know the meaning of humbleness, gentleness, Our words become harsh unknowingly because we don't know the other. So we have to keep on thinking how to tighten the loose ends. Not an academic exercise. This will only help to some extent. Every day we should. Now, in that process, if we are convinced that we should tighten the loose ends, there should be some solid purpose, that will only help us to have this aspiration. Why should I tighten? This question will come. So when we search for it, search for something, by which we try to slowly recede from the 5 channels of outings and gradually turn it towards the core of our being. When we started thinking more and more about it, we are again drawn by his first article about Ram. So, unless and until I get some clarity about the word Ram, I will not be able to tighten my loose ends. The more and more I get clarity about God, about Ram, about Spirit, about Atma, then to that extent, even without our knowledge, there will be an overall control over these 5 channels. With that background, when we were seriously thinking, Papa took us to the first chapter of Glimpses of Divine Vision, where he said, try to understand the origin of your and the world life. To know who you are in reality is the real question. These are his words. And then he said, for this, a systematized process should be adhered to. So that means we should go back to our origin. We start from, what has been projected. Where from I started. Through 4 slokas in Srimad Bhagavad Gita, he throws some light. In the 7th chapter, tenth shloka, he says, Bijam mam sarvabhutanam viddhit partha sanatanam buddhir buddhivatamasmi tejas tejasvinama. I am the eternal seed of everything. So how do we begin the inward journey? We are trying to understand our origin. Normally our mind will say our parents are our origin. Yes, to some extent it is right. But later on we come to know, if parents are my origin, where from they came? Then we know it is their parents. And where from they came? Their parents. So like that we keep on going up to 2 or 3. Beyond that our intellect cannot go. But one thing we know, that there should be a starting point, an origin, which is called the Bijam, eternal seed. So here the Lord says, Bijam mam sarva bhutanam. So parents are only instrumental cause. Just as for cultivating paddy or vegetables or anything, we do lot of preparatory work. When the atmosphere becomes conducive for the seed to sprout, then it sprouts. So parents are the instrumental cause. We can't say they are the ultimate cause. Because they also belong to a cause, They have also come from a cause. They are the product of a cause and effect theory. So that is why Lord says in this particular, Bijam mam sarva bhutana. So that means every one of us is also owe our origin to him. When Papa said Ram is the all-pervading reality, just start thinking. We are putting 2 and 2 together. When he has mentioned that Srimad Bhagavad Gita played an important role in his spiritual journey. So we were trying to find out how to make our ends, make our loose ends tighten. So then we come to know that unless and until our goal becomes predominant in our mind, we will not be able to preserve all the capabilities or whatever faculties towards this. Now it is dissipated unknowingly and knowingly through these 5 channels. And in the next, let us see, each one can gather. Every one of you will be having a Bhagavad Gita at your shelf. So kindly take it out and then try to know this. Chapter number 9, Shloka number 18. Gadir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa Sharanam Suhrad Prabhava Pralayasthanam Nidanam Bijamuge. He is the end and aim of everything. Protector, Bharta, Prabhu, Sakshi, witness, Nivasa, the place he stays. He is also our friend, fraternity. Prabhava Pralayastana, both the dissolution as well as manifestation, that is the state. And then finally he says, Nidanam Bijam Abhyayam. I am that indestructible seed. Again, to get more clarity, we go to the 10th chapter, 39th sloka. Yachavi sarvabhutanam bijam tadagam arjuna na tadasti vina yat syad maya bhutam characharam. For all moving and unmoving, I am the eternal seed. Be bereft of me, nothing can exist. Yachavi sarvabhutanam Bijam tadakam arjuna na tadasti vina yasyad maya bhutam characharam. And the final one, we don't know whether the final one, we were able to locate 4. If this is the final one, that's a top class. Grihasthas will be able to understand it better than us. 14th chapter, 4th sloka. Sarvayonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavandiya tasam brahma mahadyoni aham bija pradapita. So many different varied manifestations are born. They are all born in the womb of Prakriti, the dynamic nature of mind. And I am the Pita, Purusha, who deposits the seed in the womb of all creations. Sarvayonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavandiya tasam brahma mahadyoni aham bija pradapita. I am the great father, Jaganniyantau, Jagannmata, Jagatpita. Now we have so many slokas. So through these 4 slokas, he is trying to make us aware of the fact, the truth, that he is our soul origin. When Papa wanted us to know, to take up, the purpose of my life is to know my own origin, my own. I have started, I did not go to the cause, but I started from the effect, because of which I was not able to concentrate anywhere. Now, if this is instrumental in turning my entire attention from the outer field to the inner field, where from the sense of awareness comes, an awareness which is objectless awareness. So we have to take to intense inward journey. Now we understand why did he use the word meditation. Even at the taking of sannyas, he made the mention about meditation. This word, this life shall be henceforth consecrated to the meditation and service of Ram. Meditation of Ram and service of Ram. Meditation of Ram is to know within. Service of Ram is to see him outside. So he has given a lot of importance for this mental exercise called meditation. So we take a clue from it. In our efforts, we heard Lord Rama expressing about the transient nature of the whole world. We also know from our own experience, our own life, how transient it is, and we would also like to have the experience of eternal joy, a joy which never ceases, a joy which never decreases, a joy which always makes us full, not lacking in anything. That is why he said, the moment you see Papa, he said, first, when he saw Papa for the first time, What a transformation! I do not see Vittal Rao, my erstwhile brother, but a divine being radiating love and gentleness, with a seraphic smile on his lustrous face. He cast a spell over me, flooding my whole being with a strange, inexpressible joy. An indefinable craving to be with him possessed my soul. So that means, the core of our being has become the manifested part. At the moment, because we are not aware of the core of the being, we are carried away by whatever the mind paints, portrays. We never know there is a field beyond our mind. We never know that there is a substratum behind the mind. But we are fully occupied by the play of the mind throughout. And the mind gets stimuli from these five. Kindly think about it. This is a very, very serious subject he is taking up. It is not simply chanting Ram Nam for some time and going. Our sadhana need to be reinforced. Luckily, he has given us a taste to chant Ram Nam. That is also a must. Bereft of this, we will not find at all. But luckily, he has given over the periods. But we got stuck there. Now he says, this Ram stands for your own original nature. So you have to dive deep within and then experience his presence. Then you will be clear about your origin, your relationship, your sense of individuality, the relationship with him inside, with him in the outer world. We will be able to properly relate ourselves with the entire creation. Now it is a distorted relationship. Because the mind dominates, I know everything, I am right, you are wrong. In all our dealings with others, this is there always. Though we keep doing all these things. So my Ram Nam chanting should enable me to become more and more humble. That I am existing only because he is there in me, about which I am unaware of, but I should somehow know. That is my goal. Whenever I am little vacillating, please step in, reinforce my faith. And then now I understand, if I do that, my Ram Nam chanting will become more and more effective. Ram Nam chanting is to plug all the 6 avenues, mind and the 5. And direct it towards the Ram, the origin, the Bijam, the Lord. If this much clarity comes to us, and when we make use of the Nama, and during the non-chanting time, we also try to bring in this dimension. Everywhere the gentleness comes. Because we are dealing with him only, indifferent. It is not that I am dealing with somebody else. When I am dealing with somebody else, yes, you are right. Because I am projected through my mind, and whatever perspective with which I look at, I get the reciprocal stimuli from outside. If I am loving towards all, if I hate everybody, if I have craving for anything, I fall into it. So a lot of inward journey is recommended by Papa. That is why he mentioned not only ceaseless chanting of his name, simultaneously, if you remember, simultaneously dwelling on the attributes. That means moving towards him, who is there in our innermost chamber. So he was able to plug all the loose ends, direct it towards him, and when he knew that comfort zones are the blockades, he removed them. Mind is still not, so he took to chanting vigorously, so that the mind has no time to go out. Under anything, it can just go. So in order that mind does not dwell on anything outside, he made use of the chanting to dwell on him, to dwell on the core of the being, Ram. With that background, when we again go through In Quest of God, we find he was always reveling in the remembrance, awareness of Ram. And every now and then when he was dealing with the Vyavahari field, in order that his conviction or his what he called move to stabilize, it does not get diluted. Every now and then he was resorting to solitude, fast, silence, and then total reliance on him and him alone. He was not relying on any external factor. That's also an important thing. Any external factor, suppose I rely, naturally my five organs, sense organs become active, mind become active. Here he was purely relying on him and him only inside. No external factor. So a correct understanding of our origin, number one, and moving towards that origin, consolidating of...
Swamiji, systematized procedure, Adapati Pujya, can you say something, systematized procedure, as Papa says?
Yeah, you go through Papa's own glimpses you take. That is the word he has used.
God experience volume 2 vividly explained. God experience volume 2.
Wait. Glimpses, like he says, try to enter into the mysterious origin of your and the world life. To know who you are in reality is the real question. To arrive at this truth, you have to, by a systematized process of thought and discipline, transcend all human limitations set by the body, mind, intellect, and then, embarking on the realm of the spirit, realize your immortal, changeless, blissful nature. And this systematized process of thought and discipline, all of us have to evolve from ourselves. Suppose we again rely on external factor, unknowingly, the draining of all our faculties will start. We are now closing our eyes and trying to go within. And clearly we see the roadblocks. And immediately we take to some discipline by which, it is plugged. And because we are not full-timers, we have to do extra effort. Because the non-chanting time is more in our life. If at all we have been successful in effectively chanting, we know that during the non-chanting time the mind runs riot. It brings its own, conclusions, inferences, imaginations, conceptions. Unknowingly we become the prisoner of our own thoughts. We have to do serious thinking. The in-depth inquest of God now slowly opens, after 4 or 5 months now, the serious portions. Serious portion is, he says, try to enter into the mysterious origin of your and the world life. First hours, then only the world life began. To know who you are in reality is the real quest. He was able to understand that he is also Ram and he is also the child of Ram. With that only he left. Because retaining the sense of individuality, he puts the label of a child or a servant. At the same time, conscious of the presence of the reality within. And to arrive at this truth, you have to, by a systematized process of thought and discipline. Not merely thought. A discipline by which all these 5, channels are controlled. We may not be able to shut it, but at the same time we may be able to control. And when we make a move, what is found is, mysteriously the guidance comes from within. Whatever we are sharing with all of you now, we have been reading Srimad Bhagavad Gita for a quite long time. But this question, when we were able to couple this question, that you try to enter into the mysterious origin of your and the world life, origin, then this through 4 slogas, the Lord clears the doubt. I am the eternal seed. So, everything becomes slowly, intellectually clear now.
Swamiji, the whole weekend got me thinking about tightening the bowl, loosen the bowl. But I was not sure about how to go about.
How to go about.
Today you cleared it.
Today clarity came.
How to go about that?
Unless we fix the target.
So Swamiji, you gave the question that made me think throughout. While going to sleep, while getting up, Swamiji says, tighten the bolts, but I don't see how to do that. And you give the answer after 2 days. Thank you, Swamiji.
So maximum time, now we understand, we get clues from his own. His mind space was filled with. One more thing you would like to share. Request of God. In the first chapter, he says, along with whatever whatever disciplines, withdrawal, self-denial. He says, off and on he was prompted by Ram to read the teachings of Sri Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita, Buddha, Light of Asia, Jesus, New Testament, Mahatma Gandhi, Young India and Ethical Religion. Now you see next one. The young plant of bhakti in Ram was thus nurtured in the electric atmosphere created by the influence of these great men on the mind of humble Ramdas. Electric atmosphere. Our mind was interpreting that through electricity the light is on, or it becomes useful. But later on when we checked up with the Chambers dictionary, electric atmosphere means there is one more meaning. Thrilling. So when he was going through all these 4 books, he was experiencing it. That is called the thrill, How do you get thrill? Some sort of experience. Maybe for a trice, for a few seconds, for a few minutes. But it is an experience, inexplicable experience. Inexplicable, pleasant experience. That normally we term it as thrilling. So Papa brings this, all these books, The young plant of bhakti in Ram was thus nurtured in the electric atmosphere created by the influence of these great men on the mind of humble Ramdas. These were probably some of the tools he used to tighten all the loose ends. Reveling on Bhagavad Gita, first comes Bhagavad Gita. Teachings of Sri Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita. So these four slokas, as an aspirant, as a devotee of Papa, we suggest that all of you, when you go back, when you take from your shelf, kindly take these 4 slokas, read and try to digest. It might throw some more light, we don't know. Because the thrilling experience it should give us. We did not know that electric atmosphere stands for this thrilling experience. That means it was not an ordinary, superficial, textual reading. No. Something beyond that. Something beyond the purview of our mind. It is not colorized by the mind's expression. Thrilling. So we go through it again and again and again. These 4 slokas. I don't know whether anybody is noting down. Because we
Noted
are
down, everything. Noted in the Punda.
Anyway, okay. We will again repeat 7th chapter, 10th sloka. 9th chapter, 18th sloka. 10th chapter, 39th sloka. 14th chapter, 4th sloka.
Yes,
Everywhere he brings the word Bijam, eternal seed. With this, probably when we go deeper into the various slokas, he says, the Jivanam Sarvabhudeshu. And in 10th chapter also he keeps on explaining about it, so many words. And here Papa says, you have to go beyond the transcend all human limitations set by the body, mind, intellect. It's also a powerful word. Everything we are guided by these, by the norms set by BMI, body, mind, intellect. So we are not trying to recognize that there is a reality beyond our mind. We have not applied our mind. Everything is understood by the mind. Everything is going on under the supervision of the mind. The moment we come to know that there is a power beyond the mind. Because in the first chapter, he says, the sense of separation comes because of that. To realize this great truth, we who through ignorance feel as separate individuals should submit ourselves to the will and workings of that infinite power, Ram, who is one and all-pervading. By a complete surrender to the will of Ram, we lose consciousness of the body which keeps us aloof from Him and find ourselves in a state of complete identification and union with Ram, who is in us, everywhere around us. In this condition, hatred, which means consciousness of diversity, ceases, and love, consciousness of unity, is realized. First article, In order to understand the first article, Papa took so many days for us, and now slowly laid. Everything has been put in a capsule form in the first article. Ram, the truth, the love, the goal of human perfection. All hail.
Swamiji, so you mean to say, instead of blaming the mind, we use it as a tool?
With the mind only, we start reading it, we start seeing. We remember about the qualities of a Mahatma. These are some of the ways by which, we plug the outgoing tendency of the mind.
Yeah, so if mind...
Though there is a risk involved, that it's an outer factor, but these are the process by which, going here and there in the sectors where it will not be productive, we are trying to first fix the mind on fields where it helps us in our inward journey. So the moment we think about humbleness, humility, for example, the moment we think about self-effacing, who comes in our mind? Pujya Swamiji. When you think about him, so at least to that extent, we are not going away from, we are not dissipating our energy. Because there is a thrilling effect in our mind. When we say the love, not only the divine love, but also an earthly love, we remember Pujya Mataji. When we think about bliss, objectless happiness, we remember about Papa. Like that, we must have got in touch with a galaxy of Mahatmas, avatars, through this way or that way. We have just filed it, that's all. Now we are taking up the file one by one to keep our mind filled with all these things, so that the outgoing tendencies for lesser importance, passions, lower passions, that will slowly get plugged. You remember at the time of initiation, Papa talks about it, sweetness of the name. There he says, why is it that one is not able to feel the sweetness of the name? He says, name is sweet. It is like sugar. But when our mind is filled with low passions of the heart, it will not taste sweet. That is why we have to go to a doctor and take the medicine, because when we have got fever, the same sugar will taste bitter. Similarly, though maybe outwardly we may be chanting Ramnam, we may not be enjoying the sweetness of it, because the low passions, are still lingering in our mind. So, in order to remove these low passions, we try to fill as much as possible with the lofty ideals, the life and mission of sayings, portions from scriptures, texts. Mind dwells, People may think it is an academic exercise. No, certainly not. Because academic exercise means we learn by heart and we want to reproduce. Here we don't want to. Here we try to read, close the book, try to understand, assimilate, absorb as much as we can. When we are not in a position, we plead. Again he opens up something else. Today we saw, Normally we used to always say Bijam Sarvabhutanam, one sloga. But yesterday he made us to go, I have told you in 4 times. And the last one was, everybody can easily understand. What was that? 14th chapter. Guna. Everybody has forgotten.
4th shloka. 4th shloka.
4th sloka, yes. Gunatraya Vibhagam. Sarvayonishu Kaunteya Murtaya Sambhavandiya Tasam Brahma Mahadyonihi Aham Bija Pratapita. So when you are the cause, I am unaware that you are the cause. Why don't you please make me realize this? I have now understood that you are my cause. I was thinking my parents and put a stop to it. But this had never stuck to us. That they also come from. When we see a coconut tree in front of us, we know it has come from a seed coconut. Then we suddenly understand seed coconut cannot come from the sky. It can only come from a coconut. And that coconut can come only from a seed coconut. So it has to have an origin. Like that I also owe my origin to him. Pujya Swami Maharaj used to say as uncaused cause. The first primary cause, because we cannot rationalize, our intellect cannot, because the intellect only knows the cause and effect theory. If a cause becomes effect and the effect becomes cause, it is a chain. But here we are dealing with something, the first cause. I am the first Bijam of all. Beyond that, no. So it is called uncaused cause. He willed it, that's all. There is no other cause. He willed it, that is why I am born. And he is there in me. We know that all the characteristics of the seed will be there in the fruit, will be there in the tree. So that is why now we understand the Upanishad word. Shunvandu Vishve Amatasya Putraha. You are the heirs of immortal bliss. We did not know that. When Adi Shankara's Nirvana Shakam, when we were repeating it, beautiful, melodious, wonderful, all those things we say. But finally, he was removing all the externals and taking us to the internal. What is that last word of every sloga? Chitananda Rupam Shivoham Shivoham. Chit means, objectless awareness. Please make a note. It is not an awareness of something this, that. It is an objectless awareness. Awareness which is there. That means beyond the mind. Normally we say this awareness, relating to what the mind says. Knowingly chant, for example. You become aware of your chanting. But here that awareness itself. Chitananda Rupam Shivoham Shivoham. Manobuddhi ahankara chittani na aham na cha shrotra jihve na cha grana netre na cha vyoma bhumi na tejo na vayuhu chitananda rupam shivoham shivoham. Na punyam na papam na saukyam na dukkham na mantram na tirtham na vedam na yajnam. Aham bhojanam neva bhojyam na bhokta chitananda rupam shivoham shivoham. Name mrityu shankha name jadi veda pitanaiva menaiva matanna janma. Nabandhu namitram gururnaiva shishya chitananda rupam shivoham shivoham. Name dvesha ragau name lobha moho madonaiva menaiva matsarya bhavam. Na dharmam, na chartam, na kamam, na moksham. Chitananda rupam. So in that, he removes everything, removes all the novables, or where all mind can play its role, all those things are straight away removed. And it can be removed only when the goal is pointed out to us, Chitananda Rupa. Bliss out of that objectless awareness. Same, it's all same, but put in a different form. That is why they say Satchit Ananda. So with all these backgrounds, let us try our level best to understand, because we have been gifted with, a saint's life and mission, which is easy for every one of us to understand, because he did not follow any tradition. Though whatever is needed from the tradition he took, tradition was not overweighing. Means he was feeling the freedom. He was free from all preconceived notions, traditions, customs, rituals. And so he was able to get when you apply for a visa, you have to go to the embassy, The moment they are convinced, the person who is in charge there, sixth sense, hardly 1 minute you are there before him. But it is he or she who says yes, no. When they are convinced that our going to that particular place is for this thing, there is no other vested interest there, or trying to stick on to that place, immediately it is given. Especially when you apply for US visa. Rest of the place may not be that cumbersome. So that is why in Hyderabad there is a Visa Balaji. They go to the temple and do some vows. Later on, when they happen to know all these things, they will know, correct, even for my visa, he helped me. Which is an outer activity. There also he helped me. He extracted some price from me in the form of 108 times I do the production. And my unshakable faith in him. And my seriously thinking about that for a quite long time. Not that today you think, tomorrow you forget, no. After I get the visa, probably I would have forgotten. But still it may be there in my mind. So like that, we try to make use of all these things and go a little more deeper. So we will try to understand the words of Papa. Through Papa only we can do it. That is why this in-depth study has been motivated in us. The young plant of Bhakti in Ram was thus nurtured in the electric atmosphere created by the influence of these great men on the mind of humble Ramdas. It was not really reading. So we are now trying to get a taste of the essence of whatever he makes us to go through, not a superficial reading. Wonderful inputs he is giving, and we also know that his guidance is there with us. It is not simply he said, you go this way, that way, you will go. No. It is as if, as it were, he is holding our hand and taking us from stage to stage. Let us become aware of it, Let us keep on. He is guiding us, he is guiding us, he is guiding us, he is protecting us. Otherwise, for the past now so many months, every day, 1 year, 1 hour, right from 27th December 2021, when it was officially launched by Param Pujya Swami Padmanabhanji Maharaj. Then for the past now 5 months. 5 months means 150 days, out of which probably 10 or 15 days we would not have been able to. But by and large, more than 100 days now we have been regularly prompted to spend some time on this in-depth study of In Quest of God. Do you think it is possible by our effort? It has been purely by His grace. He has been helping us to unearth so many, which were lying hidden, and He takes up one by one. And before we come here, we have absolutely no clue what should be shared. But He does share with us, and He wants us to pass it on to us. So we have to keep, it's only to assure us that I am there, I am there, I am there. The moment you turn towards me, I am there. If you are turning outside, sorry, you may not be aware of my guidance. Though I am still guiding you, you may not be aware of my guidance. But the moment you turn your face towards me, you are aware of my guidance. So let us all become aware of His guidance and try to move towards Him with all intensity. Hari Om. Om Shri Ram Jai Ram Jai Jai Ram 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 Hari Om, Hari Om.
Namaskaram, Swami.
Namaskaram, Namaskaram.